Kia ora and welcome to another episode of the podcast. I'm sitting here with my friend
Danielle,
and we hope that you enjoy this episode. And we are finally here. This one, like
finally.
I say this to a lot of people. It seems like when you're trying to organize an episode and like get people on, but we all just live full lives. So it's not just like, oh, we can podcast at any time. You have to we had Christmas come in and I just really wanted to get it in. But we're here now.
I know. I didn't want to message you being like, do you still want me? Because I'm like, he's probably got his own stuff going on.
Because I contacted you quite a while ago, but it's one of those things that you never know where someone's at, because being able to share like this, it's to some people, they're like, I love it. Yeah. And then to other people, they're just like, what am I going to talk about? So,
I know.
Yeah, because where were you kind of on that?
Yeah, I was just like, why would you be excited to have me? I just think I'm just a average person.
I think well, that's good that you have that feeling about yourself, but to a lot of the people who see what you're doing, they're just like, I don't even know where you find the hours in a day to be able to do what you do.
Neither do I, half the time, honestly.
Yeah, so a lot of this will be kind of going through all of that sort of stuff, and because to get to the levels of things that you do and to be so humble about it and to be so okay with just being like, this is just me. Yeah. That takes a special person to be able to do that stuff. And I'm sorry to make you blush. And all that
too kind.
So just, going on with everything. So you've done full-time study, you're now going into a postgrad course, but then on top of that, obviously most people would know you for your performing side of things. Yep. And then in terms of performing, you're kind of more like using your body up on stage, do all that sort of stuff. Mm-hmm. So to be able to speak about it now, have you ever really had that opportunity?
No, I've never actually had anything of speaking. Everyone's just seen me from my performance and that's it. So that's usually their impressions of me, which isn't always me personally. This is really different and interesting.
Well, that's cool. I hope we get some good stuff out of it, because that's the sort of stuff that I think when people listen to it and they're like, I thought they see everyone as very just one-dimensional. This is the only part of them, but all the background stuff that goes on, that's what makes them amazing. Yeah. So for you, in terms of the performing arts, it's so broad. When you say I'm a performing artist or I perform, there's so many things you could be doing. So what were your main drives to actually going into performing arts?
So I've been dancing since 2007.
Sheesh.
Yeah. I joined a local dance studio in Fairfield, just not that far.
So you're local, yeah.
Yeah, and it was classic. My friend Kendall, her mum rang up my mum and was like, "There's an ad in the school newspaper, hip hop. Should they do it?" And we're like, "Yep." I watched Honey. I wanted to be like Honey.
Honey, of course.
Yep. And then we joined, and then the year after that, the dance studio, it's the ages were kind of mixed. So we were 11, and we could have been dancing with 6-year-olds the next year.
Right.
And our parents were like, absolutely not. They need to dance with kids their age.
Yeah.
So then my friend's mum was like, I found this dance school called Rasa. And then we joined, and I haven't looked back since. So mainly it's all dance and hip hop.
Right.
Street dance style.
So that's been your main genre has always kind of been hip hop?
Yeah.
Yeah, so because I remember, I think it was Honey, and they had if you got the DVD, there was a behind the scenes, and you could learn one of the dances, and everyone was from there, just in front of the screen. It's so different now, because now you're learning TikToks and all that, but that was so cool. That was the beginning of a lot of people's dance career. Yeah. And so before that though, because how old would you have been?
2000. I was year 6 when I...
Year 6, right. So still at what? That's that 10, 11 type.
Yeah.
Yeah, so before actually going into it, had you done any performing?
I did violin since the age of... So random, right? When I did violin for 13 years of my life.
Right.
So classical music, guitar. So I was more on the music side of performing. I wouldn't say I was top, but I was average-ish. Right. But I was so nervous with performing for that. Classical music, it is so hard. And yeah.
Yeah, and so what was it about, was it the hip-hop genre in terms of how you move your body, or was it the hip-hop music, or was it a bit of both that actually drew you towards it?
I actually can't remember what actually drew me to it. I was just this is fun, and I get to dance with my friend and all that. Yeah. And then it just... One day, it didn't take until 2012 for it to click to me, be I want to take this a bit more seriously. Me and a couple of my friends went up to Christchurch to watch Request, Periscope and stuff. And they did a workshop, and then one of the exercises we were in 2 lines, and then you had to like dance up directly at your partner. It was like aggressive and stuff. And I had one of the request girls right opposite me coming up in my face, and I was like, fangirl moment. I was like, they're real people.
Yeah.
And then from there, I was like, oh, this is what it takes to like be at their level, because that was the first time watching people live. Yeah. And then for some reason, it just clicked, and I just,
That's so cool. And thinking about, so yourself and like going to all these classes, how many, so when you said it clicked those couple of years, so it's been a few years that you've been in it, when did you actually realize like this is something that I can put a lot of energy into?
It was, that is a good question. So, because for me, sometimes it just feels like it just naturally progresses. Like, I feel like I was the kid at the back of the class, not getting, I was always, and people never believe me when I tell, they think they're like, oh, she's just trying to be humble. I literally, out of my whole class, we did exam syllabus, I always got the lowest mark. Right. But for some reason, I just kept going at it. Like, I was like, I still love it, and I never got discouraged from it. So there wasn't actually like a fully, like a click moment to be like, right, I'm going to keep continuing this and I will get better. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's one of those things, I think with dance itself as well, you see a lot of people when they progress, like it's not really a linear thing. It's not like you just automatically learn all these different dances. Like there's a whole bunch of things that come with it. There's the ability to be able to choreograph a dance, even just your awareness with body control and all that sort of stuff, which all comes at different times. Yeah. And then you kind of realize that the more exposure you get to other genres or to even just other workshops. So for you, having the availability with like YouTube, I mean, YouTube's been huge because you can watch a whole bunch of different things. What were your main like kind of influences when you were coming up?
Oh my god, so me and my friend Yama, I'm like name dropping my friends right now. Before class, we would arrive to class like an hour early. She'd roll up because I still had dial up because we lived in the middle of nowhere.
Oh right, okay, right.
So I could barely watch a YouTube clip. But Yama would come with her iPod Touch with like all these like HHI videos downloaded, and we'd just sit there and watch them and be like, God. Like, and that's what would influence us. We'd just watch all these people from America, like Ian Eastwood and Brian Puspos and Request and like all those Auckland dancers, and so that mainly influenced me. And especially when I got to like older teenage years, especially like Ian Eastwood, Brian Puspos, like the more masculine dancers, they were like dancing to like Tiger and Drake and Lil Wayne, and for some reason, as soon as I heard that music and watched them dance, I was like, I want to dance like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And in terms of your energy, because this is something like a lot of dancers will talk about, they describe it as something like it's meditative, it's therapeutic, because a lot of the times you can actually dance into your feelings. Yes. Like, is that something that you've found as well? Have you been doing yours?
Oh, yes, 100%. Like, I try and channel a lot of my emotions in my dancing. A lot of it frustration. That's probably why I like doing the more like aggressive stuff, because if someone's pissed me off or if a situation's pissed me off, I like can think about that and channel that. It's like acting. Yeah, right. In a way.
That's so cool. So do you have because some people, I mean, especially in the krump world, they all have names. Like they have alter egos that this is who they channel. Is there someone in your mind or something that you try to channel when you go into it that no one knows about or that people do know about?
I just try and channel like a really cocky guy. Right. For some reason that's the first thing that comes to my mind, because I think naturally I'm quite, it doesn't seem like it all the time, but I can be quite reserved and like low key. So I kind of, when I dance, I want to like give a perception to people that I'm like really cocky and really confident. So then, it's like a shield kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, because a lot of people who do go out there, if you don't know these people, you watch them, you're just like, wow, they've got it all together. And then people who know them, like, where did that come from?
Yeah, like I remember one time I was doing like this aggressive like isolation thing, and then everyone's like, you were so scary, and I'm like, am I? I was just dancing on stage. Or like a lot of kids, when I first teach them, like, I was so intimidated by you at first. I'm like, why though? Like, you didn't know me. Yeah, like. Yeah, it's really funny.
And then so now thinking about, so it's really, there's a lot of people who have kind of gone down the channel of like just creating themselves, not having to do any formal education or anything, and they've managed to build quite a big platform. Yeah. But then thinking about actually, pursuing tertiary education, what was the drive behind that?
So I've been teaching at Rasa School of Dance for how many years? I can't really do maths right now. And this would be like my 7th year.
Okay, so for a while.
So since like 2015.
Yeah.
And I've always taught teenagers majority of the time. And then for some reason, so when I moved up to Auckland for like a year and a half to pursue my own dancing.
Right.
And then when I came back, I was like, what do I want to do with my life? Like, what do I want? I can't just be doing these factory jobs to, you know, get by. And then I thought I want to teach dance still.
Cool.
But I feel like teaching it in a school, it's more of a viable income for myself.
Right, yeah.
So, and inspire a whole different lot of people.
And then with your own practice and then actually going through formal education for the different types of things, like has there been stuff that you've been able to take from your practices, or like where do you find that it's actually helping you most with your practice?
I think just the performing arts degree in general just gave me a whole nother mindset, I guess, like, because there's so many different performers. So I've kind of taken bits of inspiration from each of them, even if it's not significant, and be like, I quite like how they did this, and I like how this person did this. And then it's a big jumble in how I do my...
I think it's so cool when you can see the influences from, like, who people got influenced by, because a lot of it, like, you're, whether you know it or not, you're putting, like, you're channeling something from something you've seen at some point, or, like, you even try to be an object that you saw. Like, there's so many different things you can manipulate yourself into being. So I think that's really cool. Now, you said you went up to Auckland to try and pursue a little bit of dancing. So what was how old were you then, and what was the kind of goal with moving?
So I was 20 when I first moved up to Auckland.
Right.
And my goal ever since I left high school was like, I want to go up to Auckland and just dance, because in my mind back in the day I was like, all the famous dancers up in Auckland.
Of course, yeah.
I want to go be with them and like train with them.
Yeah.
And then so I auditioned for a dance company up there, and I actually got in straight away into their adult crew. Our adult crew was called Akenza.
Right.
And that's where I met some of my like closest friends ever. And I danced up there with them, and we did a lot of international comps, like Hip Hop International. We got in. My friends are going to rip me out for saying that, but because they're always, whenever they introduce me at a party, they're like, did you know she went to Hip Hop International? I'm like, guys, please stop it. But yeah, we did that, and we went to Mexico, and we've been to Hawaii with that, and there's been a lot of up and downs with that, but I am very like stoked that I got to do that for myself, because when I moved up, I did not know anyone up in Auckland. I was like, I'm just going to do it. Yeah. And if worse comes to worse, I'll come back to Dunedin. Yeah. And I came back to Dunedin, so it worked out.
But so you got a bit of that experience though. So when you were going up, like what was the thing that held you there, that like for that amount of time that you were there? Because it's easy to just go up, this kind of doesn't work, and you just leave straight away. Yeah. But you stuck it out for a bit, and you actually got to do some amazing things. Yeah. What were the main things that kind of held you?
The main things that held me was my crew, like the people in my crew, and the goals of what we were going to do with competitions and stuff. Like, I knew, right, we're going to Hawaii, then, we got into Worlds, we're going to Worlds, that's sick. And then the next year, we're going to go to Mexico. So I stayed out until we went to Mexico, then after I came back. Yeah. But the main thing that kept me going was the people in the crew, because no matter how hard it was, or any situations at the time, or how I was feeling, like they were like a family to me. So.
And then when you're there, in terms of, developing your own style and seeing what's there, were there ever moments where you felt like this is kind of weird, that, like, did you ever think that when you were at high school, or even thinking about going to Auckland, that you could start going international with it?
Oh no, like literally, as I said, I thought only the famous dancers went to Hip Hop Internationals. Like, I was like, I could never. Like, I remember when I was a teenager, I wrote, and it was like a manifestation or whatever. I was like, my goals, I want to do this and do this. And I was like, I want to go to Hip Hop International. But I didn't write it as perform. I wrote, I just want to go watch. Right. I'm like, if I can just go watch, my dream would be complete. Like, so yeah, I always think if I told like 15-year-old Danielle that I did the things I did, they'd be like, no way, you're lying. Like,
yeah. And since then, so have you been back, or like been with the people that were part of that journey with you?
I visited them a few times, yes. And Mikey, the choreographer, miss him. He actually choreographed a duo I did down here with my friend Honor. So I've still got to connect with them, and still feel like a part of a group with them, even though I'm down here.
And in making that decision, you're traveling, you're almost ticking off all those things that you said you wanted to do. What was it about like Auckland or that experience that made you be like, I still need to go back to Dunedin?
One factor was that I owed my parents a lot of money because they helped me pay for the international trips.
Okay.
And like the second thing, like Auckland, like if you're not doing something, it's kind of sad.
Oh, okay.
Like it's hard to explain. Like it was just like, ugh.
Yeah.
It's kind of, sometimes it's every man for himself.
Right.
And if you get like in that cycle, it's rough. Yeah.
And if there's a lot of people going for like similar roles or like trying to make it in Auckland, like did you ever feel like you had security or that you're always kind of fighting for a spot?
Oh yeah. Like I knew that if I didn't like perform each practice, they would just be like, see ya.
Yeah.
Like it's just how it is. It is kind of sad in that regards, but yeah.
And what kind of pressure did you put on yourself? Because a lot of the pressure, like there is definitely pressure from you having to perform. Like it's a lot of our sports stars as well. They need to be on all the time. Otherwise, like someone else can easily replace you. But then you put that pressure on yourself because you're like, I love this. This is where I'm meant to be. How did that go for you?
I still do it to this day. I put so much pressure on myself. Like I don't know how not to.
Right.
It's because I have high expectations for myself. Course. And especially now with being a teacher, my mindset is always like, not like my students are way better than me, don't get me wrong. But like in my head, if I'm performing a show, I'm like, I need to prove to everyone that I deserve to be in the position that I am today. Like, because you know how some people talk or whatever and they're like, oh, why isn't she doing that? Or why is he doing this? It's like, I want to make sure I'm strong enough to prove that I deserve to like be in the position I am. Yeah.
And just thinking about yourself as the teacher now and how long you've been teaching, but also you, like, I mean, you've been in it for so long, but just thinking about when you were that person at the back of the class, what are things that you try to put into your own teaching so that you can make those people feel like they belong there?
Yeah, when I'm teaching, I really try to make sure everyone's included. Like I'm quite aware of how the class is. Even if someone thinks I don't notice them, I definitely do. Yeah. Because again, I was that shy person in the back of the class. So I try and make sure, especially the ones that are already naturally confident, I try to make sure that they don't dominate the whole class, or, you know, we're switching around lines a lot, or I'm like, when I'm trying to make formations, especially in crew dances, I try to make sure everyone gets a chance at the front. Right. Like, just so they have their moment, because I know as a dancer, when the choreographer is like, right, Danielle, you're on the front line, it would make my day if I went home, I'm like, Mum, I got put in the front. So I try and do that with my kids to make it all fair, because it's kind of like sad when you're like, oh, I was at the back for like that whole dance, even if the choreographer didn't intentionally make it. Right. So yeah, I try to switch everyone around to make it a bit more fair.
Yeah. So just having that awareness of who's in the group. Yeah. And now thinking about when you're learning different dances and then you actually get put in that position, you know, because when you get brought to the front where everyone can see you, there's two ways you can go about it. There's the first where you just freak, like blank and nothing happens. You're just like, what the heck? Or you take that moment and you just absolutely deliver. Yeah. How have you got yourself up to a point where you're just like, every time you'll like try to crush it as much when you get there?
Yeah. I pretty much just zone out, like in the best way possible. Like if I'm dancing on stage or if it's at the basketball or something, I just like to blank and forget that the crowd's there, or like have their faces all blurry and I just stare at someone, but I forget that they're like a person, because then I don't have to worry about their opinion as much if it's just like a solid color or whatever. Yeah.
And then the difference between like going out to do a showcase to just perform to people and actually competition. What are some of the biggest competitions you've been to, and then what have been some of the, like, I guess the greatest experiences that come from that?
Yeah. So my best experience, I would say, well, it had some downs, but Hip Hop International was like the craziest experience of my life. Like it was 40 degrees in Arizona. We were still training. Yeah. It was like hectic. There was like barely any breaks. And yeah, sometimes it was hard. It was hard the days we weren't competing, right? Because we were expected to like train. Yeah. And I feel like, for me personally, when you get up to like the week of a comp, I feel like you should tone it back a bit, so you're more energized for the stage. Yeah. But it's everyone's different opinion. But the best moment was being on that stage and you're just like got the New Zealand flag and you're doing the interview and you're like, oh my God, I am on this stage. What the heck? I've been watching people for years. And yeah, that was probably my highlight. And then my most recent highlight on stage was opening for Royal Family when they were in Dunedin. Cool. And it was quite good because I got to bring that opportunity to some of my teenagers as well. So I got to dance with them. So like most of them were like 15 and they had never danced on a stage with like, you could hear the crowd the whole time. Like it was the craziest crowd of my life. And I'm just so glad that I got to like give them that experience through my choreography as well. And
then so going from actually following people's choreography to actually, you know, putting it together, something so that people can go put it out there. How do you get over that, like, is this not good enough? Or like, how do you get over that for yourself? Because it's so easy. You're like, I'm going to show this to so many people. And then if it's in a competition, people are going to like rank you from that. How do you get over that, like trust that it's good?
Well, I always like to tell myself that dance is like, since it's an art, it is quite subjective.
Awesome.
Like, so I think something's really cool, but someone else might not. Like, for example, in 2019, one of my crews, we went up to Wellington that I coach like my teens, and they didn't get into finals, which we were like, what the heck? They were so good though. I'm so shocked. And then we did the same set and then put it into another competition in Queenstown.
Right.
And then the crew that was in their section in Wellington that came first, we bet them.
Interesting.
So it was like, you know, it just kind of proves that it's all depending on the judges for those type of comps. And as long as I'm like, I think this is the best that I could have done, I think the kids are performing as best as they can, then we can't like change people's opinions.
For sure. Yeah, and then now to be able to open for Royal Family, obviously, like most people's dream in New Zealand, like growing, it's like being a young person growing up wanting to be in the All Blacks. For dance, it's like I hope to at least audition or meet Paris Goebel or something like that for Royal Family. How did that opportunity come about?
So pretty much Royal Family just put out a post being like, we're looking for people to open in all of these cities. Send in your videos, and I messaged the boss of Rasa, Lisa, and she was like, yep, I'm going to send in every single crew, every single duo we have, like kids, adults, whatever, and we'll see what they cling on to. And we got an email back saying Allies has been chosen, which is one of my teenage crews. And it just came up like all of a sudden. I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. What? Like they watched our video, like my kids dancing with my choreography and their talent, and they were like, yep, this is good enough to open for us. Like,
that's fantastic. Yeah, so even just being chosen, like that's a huge win in itself. So like whatever happens on the day, you're like, we got chosen, they've seen us, we've been exposed.
And it was so good because it wasn't like the pressure of a comp. It was, as you said, it's like they already chose us. They know what they're in for. We did the same set that we sent in, so they knew what to expect. And crazy.
And I just did like a random question because I ask a lot of people this, especially my dancer friends, especially my crumper friends, because I remember hanging out with them. How much money actually goes towards your wardrobe?
I'm trying to be better with it now. I'm trying not to buy as many clothes. I actually don't want to think about how much money sorry. No, I'm joking. But so for example, these shoes that I'm wearing right now, they were a lockdown purchase, and they were about $400.
Right.
So I'm more of like a shoe spender, but if I got a statement of all the clothes I'd bought for dance, I'd be horrified.
Oh man, because one of my friends, so I got one crumper friend, but then I also had a friend who was in Royal Family for a bit. His name's JC, and the amount of clothes that guy had, and he was like, oh no, we've got this set, and they all had to go buy the new shoes. Like they all had to buy the same outfit, and I was just like, how do you guys do this? And you're just like, you just have to do it. It's unbelievable.
It's crazy, like they're like, well, this is what we want you to wear, and this is what you have to do. But I try to make it a bit easier on like for the crews that I coach, like with shoes, for example. I'm like, just get any all white shoes. Like if you guys want to get expensive shoes and you can afford that, then do that. But if you just want like $10 warehouse shoes, like that's fine too. Like, because it's quite expensive, especially if you're doing sets every single year, and you get completely different shoes and everything like that.
Yeah, so. And on the clothing buzz, so you've been through quite a few eras where like it used to be baggy, then it went to like slim, then it went to like retro again. Yeah. What has been your favorite across all those? Like your favorite outfits or the ones that you're like, yes, I get to wear this?
Oh, baggy.
It's been the baggy?
For sure. Yeah. Yep. 100%. Yeah.
And in terms of, so this is something that every dancer will talk about. So like every time a song comes on, so for example, my sister, she'll be talking and she'll be like, she'll hear a song, she'll be able to pinpoint exactly what where they were performing that and all that sort of stuff. Has there been a song or like top 3 songs that you first got sick of because you heard it so many times, but it always brings back so many memories?
I would say at one point it was Humble by Kendrick Lamar because everyone was dancing to it. Yep. It was like, I think it must have been 2018 at Nationals, and every second crew you'd hear, sit down, be humble, and you're like, oh my God, not again. You're like, well, they look great, but like, I just heard the song so many times. Or like a lot of people, I'm the same, like I hear a song and I'm like, Raw Family have done this exact mix. Right. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And then getting in, so another thing, so a thing that really makes the choreography awesome is being able to align the movements with nearly every sound that comes out when a song's playing. So it might be a regular song, but you add like a couple of extra sounds as well. Yeah. How long does it actually take you to bring a mix together? Oh. And go through that process, because everyone just thinks that you download a song, one song, and then that's what you dance to. Yeah. But there's actually, you're chopping and changing between so many songs. You're like putting your own crew sound over the top of it. Yeah. So actually go through that process with us.
So it already takes enough time just to find what songs I want. Like I'm on Spotify, like no. Yeah. So the first step is actually finding songs, and for me, I kind of like to find songs that I hope that not many people are going to do at comps, just to be a bit different. And then once you've found the songs, it's like, what part am I going to use? Do I have to clean it if it's got explicit lyrics? Yeah. Do I want to add the sounds in? Or like sometimes for me to find sounds, I like chop this tiny little bit from like a bit of the end of the song and put it at the start. Right. And then after you've got all those bits, like for those individual like 30-second sets that you put in, then it's about what order do you want it in? Like how do you want the set to progress? Yeah. Do you want to start hard out and then drop it down and then get up? Or do you want to start chill and then keep going up? Or like what's your vibe? So it takes so long. Like I'm still making and clarifying mixes up until like a month or so before the comp, and I've been doing it for like 3 months probably prior, because it always is constantly changing. And sometimes I do a set and then I'm like, this song is not working, flip it, change it. Like,
and so do you have, from the beginning, do you kind of have a vision of like, do you go moves first, music later, or do you put your mix together first, or do you kind of try to combine them at the same time?
For me, my choreographic process, I always have to have the music first. Okay. But for crews specifically, I actually think first, who's in the crew? Yeah. What are these dancers good at? What do I think that they could improve on? And then I'm like, right, these people are really strong at isolations. We're definitely putting an isolation set in here. And then for some reason, it must be like my musical brain from like back in the day, and I'm still kind of got it now. Like with musicality, if I hear a song, I can hear all the little bits in it, even if I'm like, guys, can you hear it? They're like, no. I'm like, okay, cool. And then for some reason, moves can just come so naturally to me. Like I kind of have pictures in my head. Like if I close my eyes, I'm like, I see this also. Yep. And then, it just kind of forms. I'm like, how can I get my body to make the shape that's in my head?
Because I've always wondered with what like where people go, because some of the most effective, I remember when like Mega Crew started happening and like becoming a thing, where it wasn't anything too complex, but it was just literally how they would move to the music, but then different sounds that it wouldn't be the song, it'd be like they'd have like a sword just going shing,
the classic
and then
shing.
And then they just like do something and move to it at the same time, but all kind of like on different angles. It's really basic movements, but it's just like, wow. So it's like having that vision in your head but also knowing the music. It's just kind of like, I don't know how you put it all together in your head. So when you see it though, for like when you see it in your head, how do you actually get to a point where you can articulate it?
That's still my struggle. Sometimes I go to them, I'm like, how am I going to do this? And then they're like, I don't know, I can't read your mind. I'm like, why can't you read my mind? But just about trial and error, really.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, let's try this formation. Let's try you two doing something different while everyone else around you is doing that. These people go down while you stay up doing that move. Just like trial and error. And then as soon as I know what's good, I'm like, yep, it feels right to watch.
Yeah. And it just so like this is a weird pull from different areas, but my friends all just started boxing and they've got a fight soon. They shadow box everywhere now because that's all they do. For you, are you one of those people who you're just always hearing the music in your head? So say you're working up towards something, you're always hearing the music and just randomly dancing?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Or if I'm in a shop and like the song plays or a song with choreography, I know I'm just like, dancing a little bit to myself.
Right.
Yeah.
And is it weird? So now we get into the I guess the accessibility to dance that people have had now with the TikToks and like and whatnot. And for your like, not really as a purist, but someone who's been doing it for a long time and you understand the art form and you understand kind of the culture behind it as well. Where do you sit on that? Like, obviously it's awesome that more people are doing it, but in terms of like people as dancers, because anyone can be a dancer now, what are your thoughts around that?
Oh, TikTok is, it's good and bad. Like, I do like TikTok. I am a little bit addicted to it. Right. I have had to put a timer lock on my phone for it because it's just like scrolling all day. But, it's really hard to explain how I'm like, oh, TikTok.
Yeah.
But also, like, love TikTok because some people on TikTok, like, they're really good dance creators and creating actual choreography. For
sure.
Which is so good. And, like, that's mainly what I like to watch on there. But then there's some, like, dancers that are just questionable. And I feel like a lot with TikTok these days, because obviously you're just, like, dancing in your little square.
Yeah.
I feel like I've noticed it as a teacher. Like, a lot of people dance really small now because they're just used to, like, dancing to fit their phone.
Yeah.
And I have to try and get it out of them. Dance bigger, man. Like, you're not just on your phone screen. And, anyone can really be a dancer, but it is different.
Yeah.
That's a whole can of worms. I haven't even wrapped my head fully around it, to be honest with you.
And then just thinking about, so actually, growing up as a hip-hop dancer and learning, because it's hip-hop itself is a really young genre, like overall for the b-boy, the graffiti, everything.
Oh, yeah.
But being part of it, has there been major influences from America or things that you've seen, like documentaries or any resources that you've been kind of like, that's opened your eyes and made you appreciate it a little more?
I've just been really trying in like the past couple of years to really get to know history of styles, and that's also a really big thing in like the dance community, especially because hip hop and choreography and all that is quite popular in New Zealand. Not a lot of people know the origins of it and just think, oh, this is whacking and these are the moves that I have to do because other people did it.
Yeah.
But they don't realize that it came from a certain culture and it's all traced back to one thing.
Yeah.
So I've been really trying to just like educate myself on that so I can execute some dances more authentically.
That's cool.
And also so I can help my students understand where it comes from. Like, it's not just a style I made up in my head.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's cool because it's kind of like I think when you do understand something and you start to fulfill the reasons it's there or like why you would do this sort of movement or like the expression of it properly, that's when people see like that's a hip hop dancer. Yeah,
because I feel like especially with all your different styles, once you give people like even a brief history on it, it actually helps them understand how to execute it better. Because you're like, I see. This is where, like, with like crump and stuff.
Yeah.
And crump is a lot about, letting emotions out in like a non-violent way.
Exactly, yeah.
So once they understand that, I see what you want me to do with my body now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now, because, I mean, we kind of circled back to it, but growing up, and doing dance and wanting to make this your life, and it's still that thing where still people don't see it as a viable option for like, what, you're gonna be a dancer?
I know
that's not. So I mean, and especially hip hop. Now hip hop's quite misunderstood a lot of the time. Like the culture of it, everyone's just like, because it's not something that people can think will get you anywhere.
Yeah.
So how was that? So when you were growing up, having to go through that, did you have supportive people around you, or was it always kind of like a fight to make sure that people knew why you were doing it?
I feel like my parents were always like super supportive. They're like, as long as you're happy, like I am gonna like support you, whatever.
Fantastic.
But I feel like throughout school, people didn't take it
Yeah.
super seriously. Like even the school itself, it's like it wasn't very artsy.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's like, I was like, oh yeah, we came second in nationals. Oh, we won this at this local comp, you know, and they're just like, oh yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, they didn't take it as seriously and just think, oh yeah, you just dance. Like,
Yeah.
and they think it's not that hard.
Yep.
But it's because people train so hard that they make it look easy.
For sure.
So, yeah.
And that's where I wanted to get to. So a lot of the misconceptions about dance, because people would just think like, oh, I could do that. Like, we could just do that. What's so hard about it?
Yep.
So for you, like having to be in it almost daily, like what are the like consistent struggles that actually you have to go through so that people can be like, oh, wow, that actually is super difficult.
I feel like people don't realize that it is a sport in some regards. Like, you are using your whole body. And by the end of like an hour class, my muscles absolutely dead.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, they just don't realize how hard you have to train. Like, keep your fitness up. If you're not fit, you're not going to be able to execute the moves as much. And yeah, just they don't understand. They just think, oh yeah, you could just go up on stage and learn a routine and you're good. Like, you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
But
no, it's just so many different things, like especially isolations, or even just like being able to, like the body control that dancers have. It's unbelievable. Like, oh man, just when you watch it, and then I think that's the difficult part is that when, like you said, when anyone's good at things, it just looks easy.
Yeah.
And when you're watching these people, unless you actually do it regularly, you're not going to know how difficult it actually is.
Yeah.
Because the easier or the better they get, you're just like, okay. But no one actually goes and then tries it.
yeah, because even I've been like caught myself in that mindset. Like, I've watched someone's video on Insta, I'm like, oh yeah, this is like, it's pretty chill. And then I like go to their class where they taught that choreography. I'm like, oh my God, why did I think that is, like, why did I think this was going to be easy? They just made it look easy because they've trained for so long and so many years that they know what to do to execute it.
Yeah. Now you've been in crews and then something, so I just like I wanted to check out what's been going on, and then there was you guys were it looked like a quite famous duo that you had, and like just so many different like sets, and then like working with one person all the time.
Yeah.
Like you just start to. The amount, I mean, the ease of it after that point, because you know how each other moves, you know what complements each other. How did that start? And then talk us through that.
Oh my God. The duo was like, oh, that's the best time ever. Like, so when I came back from Auckland, I was actually quite like self-conscious about my dance. Like at one point I was like, I want to quit dance.
Really?
Like, yeah, I was like, I'm over it. I can't deal with this anymore. We can dive into why in a second. But, so I came back to Dunedin and I started teaching again, and I was slowly gaining my confidence again. And then there is this girl at the studio, and it's Honor, who I do my duo with.
Yeah.
And at the time she was 16, so she was one of my old students.
Right.
But she was the same height as me. She's taller than me now. But we just danced so similar that I thought, you know what would be fun? I haven't done it before. Let's do a duo. And I suggested it to her. And she was like, yeah, let's do it. And so I got my friend Mikey to choreograph us, and we did it for 3 years.
Yeah.
And doing a duo, the feeling of being on stage just with one other person is unmatched, because you know that they have your back.
For sure.
And you have theirs, and it's just some type of bond that you feel that you can't feel from anything else.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
And when there's the two of you, like it's a bit more intimate, like with your practices and stuff, because you can't really hide.
No.
Like in a crew, maybe because eyes will be diverted at the other people, but when there's two of you, it's so easy to keep you both there in your mind. So building that trust, was there anything that you did besides like dance together? Like, did you become friends as well?
Yeah. Oh yeah, of course. Like, we'd just hang out and eat food and you know, get that bond outside of dance as well. And yeah, exactly what you said, like in a crew of like 9 or 8 people.
Yeah.
You could kind of hide if like someone's got a leading moment in the middle and you're just like chilling at the side.
Yeah.
But in a duo, no matter what you're doing, you cannot hide behind someone at all. And it's just...
It's so much easier
crazy.
to pick up, like, if your shoulder was slightly too high or higher than it was meant to be, then, like, you're going to see it because there's only two people up there, so it kind of adds that additional element of we need to be on point.
Yeah, and you have to perform even more because you've got the same size stage as what these mega crews and these crews have, but it's just two people.
Yeah.
So you really got to fill up that energy. Yeah.
And did you compete together or did you just kind of...
we competed. We competed at Hip Hop Unite 3 years in a row. And some local comps, and we always did really good, and we always got a medal. So that's always a nice thing as well.
That's very, very cool.
No, we were stoked. Top highlight of that was probably in 2020.
Yeah.
Where we were competing against 7 other adult duos, and Honor was still 17 at the time. Yeah, she's crazy. Yeah. Shout out to Honor. And we were like, oh, we don't know what's going to happen because the year before there was only 4 teams, so we're like, oh, we could probably at least get third, like whatever. But then like we got into finals, we're like, oh yes, let's go. And then they called out 4th place, and it wasn't us, and then we were like, we got a medal, like what the heck, like. And there's just insane people in that adult division because when you're dancing in an adult division, they just expect you to be professional.
Of course, yeah.
It's because obviously, like with kids, it's like, oh, you could be cutesy and that's fine. Teens, obviously, it's even more of a step up. But by the time you're in an adult division, they're like, you need to know what you've been doing.
Yeah. Gosh. And now, so that's really good for your confidence.
Yeah.
Because, like, that's kind of the contrast of you know, leaving Auckland thinking, oh, man, I don't want to dance, to actually, like, finding this.
Yeah.
And then putting your best foot forward all the time. So how did, like, besides having someone there who actually helped you, how do you actually get to a point where, you know, you just dance overseas, you're kicking ass, really. You're doing what most people want to do.
Yeah.
And then you're like, I don't really want to do this anymore.
Yeah. So pretty much what happened was in 2018 it was nationals for HHI in Auckland, and the day before it was finals, so my crew of Kenzo, we were like killing it. We did great in semi-finals. We felt like we like absolutely crushed it. It was the first time that everyone came off stage, like really
nailed it.
And we were like, yeah, can't wait for finals. We were coming 4th at the time, so because of the pressure of the year before, there was not much pressure on us because no one expected us to place to get into Worlds.
Right.
So it was just like, oh, just chill and enjoy it. And then when we got to Worlds, obviously they're like, oh my God, okay, we'll take it a bit more seriously.
Yeah.
But then the year after, there's like, oh, well, we placed 3rd last year.
Yeah.
We need to get in that top 3 again.
Right.
So then the day before finals, I got told that I wasn't competing in finals and that they were going to change the whole set until 4 a.m. to have me out of it. And then they said, like, pretty much they're like, oh, we would take, if there was more days, like, take the weakest out per time. So apparently I was the weakest at that time. Yeah.
But they're like, you had been competing with them up until that point?
Yeah, and it was the day before finals.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
So, right, okay, now this puts a lot. So, like, it's so easy from that point to just feel like, I don't want to do this anymore.
I know. And, like, I was, like, obviously. Like, why wouldn't I was like, what is going on? And, like, then they had to tell the whole crew, and they were, like, crying because they're like, what's happening? Like, why would you do this? And I still don't understand why you would do that.
Right.
But, yeah, and then they had to change their whole set till 4 a.m. and the next day to, like, get it ready for finals without me in it.
Yeah.
And I was like crying for like 48 hours straight. Like I was like a mess. But then they were like, you can choose to like stay and like support the team, or you can just like, you know, you don't have to be backstage with us if you don't feel comfortable. For some reason, I was like, I want to stay because, as I said before, like they're like my family, like the people in that crew. So I was like, I can't leave them. Yeah. But yeah, it was just, that was a horrible time, and like watching them go on stage without me was just I just hated it. I would never wish anyone to feel the way that I felt at that time.
Because it's one of those weird things, because we talked about it before, like your choreography gets judged, but like that's a bunch of people. That's your choreography, but then there's also a bunch of people on stage. So like, okay, it's partly because of what I made them do, but also the dancers themselves. Yeah. But this was like directly, hey, we don't want you. Yep. Now, like, the thoughts of you just being like, well, because you could be like, oh, I got here, I'm good enough to get here, and I didn't quite make it, or you can just be like, I let everyone down, I suck. My gosh,
I know.
Yeah,
it was horrible. Like, our choreographer, like he's told me later, he's like, I did not want to do that. Like, apparently they were like having a mad discussion, like, no, don't do that, and then they were like, no, you have to do it, because they got to the savage point of like, we'll do anything to get in a top 3, like just forgetting about how people are humans.
Yeah.
So.
Wow, that is so good. But then it's also like you then have to put the rest of the crew in a really weird spot because they have to practice, like re-practice. We've been practicing down to the second.
Oh yeah, and they barely they got like 2 hours sleep. So then when they went on stage, they were like exhausted because they were like, well, I remember this new formation. Like, I really felt for them in that moment as well. But yeah, that's how like people were like, oh my God, Auckland looks so fun. And I was like, yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But you would have got a lot of learnings like up until that point, right?
Yes, 100%. But then it was funny because then after that we went to Mexico and we competed and it was chill. And then we came back to do one last local comp before I moved away. And I got put back in and someone got, like the choreographer got put out just because, so we could have an even formation.
Right.
And we actually won the competition with that. So everyone was like, see, this is what happens when we're like just all together as like a team.
Yeah. And now for you, so you're going into actually the Masters of Teaching?
Yeah, so I'm doing Masters of Teaching. Hopefully to be a high school teacher,
Right, and that's going to be in performing arts?
Yeah, so dance, music, drama.
That's fantastic. So you get to see a bunch of other people. And do you think that, so this course can be quite full on, but then also the amount of stuff, the other stuff you're going to do, or any course that you're going to do really is going to be quite full on. So what types of things are you looking forward to this year?
I'm just looking forward to like learning new ways of teaching.
Yeah.
And even though it's been my 3rd week this week, like just learning different approaches and how to approach certain students if they're like acting out in this way, or if they react to something you say in a certain way, how to sort out the situation, or make it a good class environment for everyone, especially at a school level, will be so different from a dance studio perspective, because a dance studio, you could be a little bit more chill, I guess, than at a school. Like, not everyone that's doing dance wants to be a professional dancer. Some people are just doing it for fun, which is the best way to do it, I think. But it's just getting those different approaches.
And then when you're in when you're teaching the dance, how do you, because like you're going to have so many, like a huge spectrum of people who are there to like, I want to dominate, I want to be the best, take me to the top. But then you're balancing that with people who just come and they're just like, oh yeah, this is what I want to do. How do you balance that out, like in your groups? Yeah,
I really just try to make sure that those ones that are the confident ones, just make sure they don't run the class.
Okay.
So, because I don't want, like, I know how it feels if the confident ones run the class. If you're the shy one, you don't want to try. So again, it's with making sure everyone's acknowledged and switching places and not. I feel like if you keep all the confident ones in one group, and then it's like, different lines and the shy ones are at the back, I kind of like to switch them around in random positions. It forces them to work with other people around them than just their friends. And
and it's something just came into my head when you said that. But like choreography itself, you always, oh my gosh, there's like 1,000 things going on in your head about like what you need to do, trying to remember it. And like, it always amazes me how in the short amount of time they learn like a verse of a song, all the moves, and then you just drill it. Now you also like dance. So like you do, what is it, Otago Dancers? As well. That itself like also is a bunch that you have to learn. And a short, sharp burst, but it's a different every single time.
Oh, so different.
So how, like, where does this all get stored in your brain?
Well, for me, if I've taught a dance and then the kids never have to do it again, I'm like, right, see ya.
Okay,
bye.
Right.
Or if it's an open class, I'm like, I never have to do this again. But I actually find it less stressful to remember dances like for like the nuggets than it is my own, because I'm like, I don't have to prep to come here. I just get to learn the dance and absorb it, and that's good. But for teaching, I'm like, I have to make up the dance. I have to clarify how I want it done. Then I have to teach it. Then I have to make sure they're understanding what I say.
Right.
But when I'm the learner, I'm just like, chilling.
Yeah.
It sounds weird because, like, you know, for some people it is harder.
Yeah.
But for me, for some reason, it comes naturally that I can just pick up stuff quite fast. It probably is just experience and learning so much. I'm used to learning dances in a short amount of time.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes for the comps up in Auckland, it was like an hour before we had to go to the comp and we changed the last bit of the set.
Yeah.
So you kind of just have to drill it straight away and remember it.
That's so full on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the Otago Dancers, is that always like, where has that kind of fallen into the rest of the journey?
So I just started with them last year.
Right.
When they finally came back because the Nuggets had finally returned. Yep. So Ksenia, the like queen in charge of that, I've known her for years, and I knew them when they were like actual cheerleaders with pom-poms and stuff.
Right.
And I thought, I was like, oh my God, I want to be one of them, but I don't know how to do the splits. How am I going to get in there? And then she made this group, but less it's not cheerleading anymore. It's more just like a dance team. And she held auditions, and I was like, may as well go. And I feel like as a teacher, a lot of the time, I don't have a lot of time for my own learning at the moment. And I feel like if I have my own learning, it actually helps me be a better teacher.
For sure.
Because then I get new influences and learn new moves. Otherwise, I feel like my choreography could be the same old and never grow. Yeah,
because that's what I was going to ask you about was like, do you notice when you're going through different phases of choreography where you start seeing like, man, I'm almost just bringing something that we've done old into like a new song?
Oh, 100%. Like I feel like near the end of last year when I had like no time to do my own personal dancing or learning stuff off YouTube clips or whatever, I feel like I'm like call myself out. I'm like, you just did this combo like not that long ago with another class. Like you need to switch it up. Like you get in the routine and muscle memory of moving your body in a similar way that you have to kind of counteract it and like check yourself and be like, no, don't do that.
Yeah. And now your own learning, so you're well past 10 years of been doing this. So like you'd feel quite confident, but say you like for workshops and different things that have to come up, do you still get that same nervousness like going into new spaces?
Oh yes, 100%. Especially with choreographers I'm not used to. I'm like, oh my God, I am not used to this at all, and I would never think to move this way to the song, but they're doing it great. So
that's
it's
cool.
so hard.
Yeah, that's really cool. Because I still, when I go into different spaces and it's like the first time I've been there, I'm just always so nervous. And like you end up being fine most of the time, but it takes a while in your head to be like, can I do this? Oh my gosh, am I doing this?
Yes, like I feel like for me with putting pressure on myself, I feel like in my head I'm like, why am I not getting it straight away? But I have to remind myself that you're not supposed to know everything straight away.
Yeah.
That's not how, if everyone knew how to do everything, like we wouldn't have to go to workshops to learn, or no one would need me as a teacher because they'd already know.
Yeah.
So.
And then for yourself, so like you're still quite young in all of it, and you're going to go into different places where you can, build up a steady foundation, just financially, and be able to continue to do what you love. But for you, like, are you still happy being a performer, or do you think you're going to get to a point like in a few years where like what's the kind of vision for you?
I definitely still I will try perform for as long as I can.
Awesome.
Like I love it, but at the moment I'm really focusing on the next generation.
Fantastic.
And how they go, because I'm like, I know, like obviously you know yourself well most of the time you know yourself well enough that I'm like, I know what I need to work on and blah blah blah, so I can just figure out myself later. But I really like to put my energy into like investing into other people's craft. And a lot of the time, especially these days, oh my God, the teenagers these days that dance, I'm like, you dance way better than I ever could. Even now, I'd like teach them something. I'm like, I did not do it that good.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's a good point to be at when someone can do it better than you and you taught them. So, I'm really enjoying the choreography side, but I also still like a little bit of performing every now and then just to keep it fresh, and it is so much fun performing.
And now just one thing you just said then, so accepting that people are going to be just so good, right? And especially because they've had the access to really good people, because like it's developed so much over time. How do you compliment people and say that they're good without getting like, oh my gosh, Like you're better than like. Do you ever get jealous? No.
Oh, not really.
Okay, right. Okay.
I just think, oh my God, if I could dance like you at your age, I would be doing all the things that I would not be staying entertaining. I'd go crazy and like it's cool to see that they're still so humble. Yeah. And with the skills that they have, which I always feel like I'm pretty good at like complimenting them without being like, how dare you be so good? But like sometimes I'm like, what was that? And then they're like, and I'm like, that was so good. And they're like, okay, it's chill. But it's just.
And do you get to a point? So that's one thing I've always been so interested in. So you can do choreography, but is there ever a chance for people to just explore, like when they want to move and just like, is it quite a collaborative process?
Sometimes, like for certain choreography, like. We'll do an example, like for the India show with my like adult advanced, and I had like this one person in the middle, and I knew the outside, but I knew I wanted a solo bit in the middle, right? But I couldn't think of how to do the solo bit, so I'm like, right, you can watch what everyone else is doing, and you frame this bit for like 15 seconds, and just let them trial things, and then they're like, but what do I do? And I'm like, I'll tell you if it looks bad. Just try whatever you want. Yeah.
And in Dunedin, so we've had quite a few people come through. You being at the same school would have had quite a few people come through as well. And besides your partner that you had in your duo, have there been any honourable like people who have come through that you've been able to dance with that you're just like, what a privilege that was?
Yes. There's so many people. I'm definitely going to forget.
That's fine.
People because that's just hard. Just anyone I've ever danced with, like my friend Yama, she's an icon. Right. We've danced together for so many years, and like how I mentioned Kendall, she would, if it wasn't for her mum ringing my mum to start the studio,
that was the beginning.
I wouldn't be where I am. Like, and now it's funny because I like teach her. So I'm like, it's such a weird. Like I never would have thought that, and just there's just so many, and I'd feel bad if I like forget someone. So just anyone I've ever danced with, if they're listening and if they know who they are, and so many people influential, and it's just crazy.
That's so cool. And then just thinking about, so you know, most people, so say we get into training, we go train with people, and then like there's the labs that you can have at different places, and like opportunities for you coming up. Are there any big things that you are planning either with the school or for yourself in terms of performing or competitions or?
Well, hopefully we are able to have performances and competitions because everything seems to be getting cancelled. Which is sucks for the performing arts industry. Yeah. We're planning on doing Fringe. Right. It's Hip Hop Hustle. Yep. With the adults, so that's always fun. We've done that for like 3 years in a row. Yep. And that's more like, it's got all the elements of hip hop, like it's got graffiti, MCing, DJing, like, and obviously we're the dancers of it, and that's always fun. And there's always the yearly competitions that we do with the kids for like their competition crews that we're definitely lining up. But it's always hard, especially these days, to know what we're going to be doing. For sure. In a couple of weeks we could get told, yep, we're going to do this performance, and then you get told, no, it's cancelled, and then hopefully we're still doing the basketball with the Nuggets dancers. And then, as Dee has previously mentioned, I am also one of the chickens at the rugby. So hopefully we get to do that if there's an audience allowed. Yeah. Oh, man. So, you still have the same full calendar if it goes ahead. Yeah. Right, so that's all start. I've tried to cut back a little bit on my teaching this year by like a couple of hours a week, just because since my master's is so full on, and really want to put a lot of time and effort into that, because I feel like in previous years, some years, I have definitely focused on dance more than my uni, and I'm like, I probably should focus on this assignment. Like it is quite important. Yeah. And then just thinking about,
so, you know, being able to dance as much as you do, say you do have to go online and do all of that sort of stuff, or like you have to isolate by yourself and do quarantine. How often does dance still play a huge part in like your life overall? So say you didn't have classes and all that sort of stuff, is dance still just like a staple thing? Yeah.
Like at the moment I've actually had a little bit of a break from it. Yeah. Just like a yearly refresh just to have a break, but definitely during lockdowns it's still part of my life. Like when we had our latest one last year, I would like see on Instagram this choreographer do this, and I'd try and learn the dance off that video. I'd download it onto my laptop, flip it, try learn it,
and just go for it
and stuff. And then with teaching, we still had online teaching through Google Drive files. I'd like record myself, and then everyone else would learn it, or like someone would record and I'd learn from that.
Cool.
So it's still part of it, but it is hard because I feel like a lot of dancers like dancing with people.
Oh yeah,
is the best part of it.
Yeah.
Like it's especially with hip hop and street styles and all that. Like it's the vibe that everyone creates.
Yeah,
that's what helps you, mate. Like be more confident.
For sure.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people use the word raw, and they're just like, that's where it's coming from. Yeah. And then just before my final question, I was just wondering. I mean, it's there's so much that goes into it. Like, there's a lot of exertion, and you're doing it quite often. So have you? I mean, let's touch wood if you haven't. But have you ever been injured or like have any injuries or reoccurring things?
Definitely. When I was up in Auckland, actually, I had this ankle injury. I never actually got it. I probably should have got it checked out. Actually, I never got it checked out because before I moved up to Auckland, I would get it from like walking around at work all the time.
Right.
But it would just be such a sore ankle. And then one comp, I remember like, I think it was the start of 2018. It felt like my ankle was broken. Like I definitely should have got it checked out, but surely it wasn't. But now it's fine. But yeah, I would dance and hobble off and hobble on. And I think the adrenaline of the performance actually like surpassed the pain.
Yeah.
Until then when the music stops and you're like,
yeah,
I'm in a lot of pain.
No, my sister was like that. I remember, I think it was like a day before they were about to perform. She rolled her ankle really bad, and she just like on the day, painkillers. Like it's bad.
You get painkillers, tape,
everything, and then as soon as the music starts, like you don't feel anything. And they just go for it, and then she'd like hobbled off and just like, well, I did what I need to do. It's
pure adrenaline. Like. Especially in that comp environment with all the lights and the judges and everyone around. And, like, when you're on stage, everyone's communicating. Sure. That's what I always try and get. Like, you're always like, let's go. If you're, like, making eye contact with someone. And, like, that really helps you push past, like, whatever you're thinking, like, I'm in pain. And then someone's, like, yelling at you, let's go. And you're like, oh, my God, I'm out of my mind.
Yep. I just got to do what I got to do. Yeah. Oh, it's so cool. And now, something that I ask every single guest, and it's usually the last question, or I frame it as the last question, but then it always keeps going. But what's something that you do every day or close to every day that helps you feel like you've optimized the day?
Oh, have I optimized all my days? That is a real question. I don't know. Oh my God, this is the toughest question out of all of them because I don't always feel like I've used my days to the best of my ability, especially now if I'm just chilling. Sometimes I feel guilty for relaxing, and that's what I've been trying to work on with. Yeah. Because at one point, especially at the end of last year, dance obviously is like a big part of me. But it would interfere a lot with my personal life. Like I couldn't relax because all I think about is I have to make this, I have to do this, mix, dance, That's what my brain was going into. Yeah. So yeah, actually sometimes optimizing my day could just be actually being able to focus on a TV show or on a YouTube video or whatever, because then I'm not thinking about it, just to have a little bit of leisure time.
That's I think that's one of the coolest answers I've had for that, because everyone's like got these cool things, like make my bed, like obviously really, really cool things. For
yeah, I love cleaning. Don't get me wrong, but like, but
like no one's ever said like properly turn off and relax.
No, because there was definitely a point last year. My brain would never turn off. Yeah, and it was just a real struggle, and I was like, I need to like separate my personal and my professional, like just a little bit, because it's bleeding in too much and I can't enjoy my time off. Like I'd have a couple of hours in my day of like no uni stuff or no dance, but all I could think about was dance. Yeah. Even though I didn't have to. Yeah. Like,
and getting rid of the guilt is the huge part, because you could always be like super, super active, but at the same time, like, are you actually achieving what you're meant to be if you're always stressed about other things? Because you're like never fully there. No. And like your relationships with different people, like being social, you think you're being social, you're there, but you're barely there because you're thinking about everything else that you should be doing, and it does have a huge tax.
Like I really try as much as I can when I'm being social with someone. I really try not to be on my phone as of recent, because otherwise my mind is not there. I need to just enjoy being with a person. And,
Yeah. And then, sorry, this literally, you just talked about your phone. Does everyone get a cardboard cutout?
The cardboard cutout. Most of us do, yeah. So we got a choice of if we wanted to buy one or not for cheap. And then I thought, what else am I going to spend $70 on? And so we got a cardboard cutout. And for some reason, mine was one of the biggest ones.
It was huge. Yeah,
it could barely fit in the car. And it's at my parents' house at the moment.
Right.
And I can't stand it up properly. It has to be on the side. Like, it's so odd. And, like, when I walked up, I was like, oh, my God, people are going to see this big version of me. I think everyone deserves a cardboard cutout at one point in their life. It's really funny.
Yeah, no, that's cool. That's really, really cool. This has been an awesome chat. That time flew so quickly.
I know.
Yeah. And I think there's so many cool things to take away, whether people are performing artists or not. I think just to be aware of the different things and just like looking at what people do, and if it's some form of expression and this person is actually able to get some sort of feeling out with anything that they do, it doesn't matter what it is, as long as they get some sort of outlet. And I feel like this has been a huge outlet for you.
It's the best outlet for anything, and it can really help you regulate your emotions and your feelings. And even like, you know, at the dance studio, I like to think of it like when you're shutting that studio door, it's like shutting whatever happened on in the world out, and you just focus on what is happening in the room at the time.
That's so cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so you're all there sharing that same energy, because I mean, I know from coaching, from just being with different people, you know, you could get a text and it's not what you wanted to see at that time, and then you go put it on the people who you're just dealing with who had nothing to do with it. But if you close yourself off from that world and that's your one chance to just express, I think it's a safe place to be.
Yeah, because I feel like if like I had a bad day and then I like come stomping in to the students, I'm like, oh yeah, just do whatever, oh the move's this, blah blah blah, then that mood gets transferred onto them.
Absolutely.
And then they go home, and then whoever they're at home was like, oh yeah, it was kind of an alright day, and then it like your energy gets transferred onto so many people that I don't want, like, whatever, if I was having like a off day, I wouldn't want anyone to know, because then that affects them. Yeah. And that's not what I'm getting paid for. I'm getting paid for, you know, creating a good environment and a safe environment for everyone to be in.
And to a lot of them, that's the 1 hour of the day that they were looking forward to.
Exactly.
Or like during the weeks, they may only go twice or once. Yeah. This is what they're really looking forward to.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, that's so cool. And I think everyone's appreciative of the time you give.
Oh, yeah.
And no, this has been awesome. Thank you so much. And we've learned so much. And I hope that everyone who listens to this actually learned quite a bit.
Yeah.
I think they will.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
I feel like I was just train of thought for a long time, but hopefully at least one thing is getting taken out of this.
Yeah. Oh no, awesome. Good luck for the rest of your year in terms of your study and whatnot. Awesome. And we're looking forward to seeing anything that comes out. I'll be sure to share everything that you guys end up doing.
Thank you.
But other than that, thank you so much for your time.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.
Cheers.